SA Express in Chang'a. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on the program, and welcome to you. Next to you, one of my former employers, the CEO of South African Airways, Monobisi Kalawa. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program. Next to you, Group CEO at Denel, Riaz Saluji. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you. Group CEO Eskom, Brian Dames. Thank you very much indeed. Next to you, Nomkhita Mona, CEO of SAFCOL, that's the South African Forestry Company. Thank you very much indeed. Look forward to hearing a lot more about your company and what you're doing. Transnet CEO, man spending lots of money on infrastructure, Brian Malife, thank you very much indeed. Thanks for joining us and trying to keep us connected and getting more connected. CEO of Broadband Infraco, Puleng Kwele, thank you very much indeed. And a man that we've met, he says he's a deployee today, Malusi Gigaba, Minister of Public Enterprises. Thank you all very much indeed for joining us, and welcome to the program. 30 seconds each to all of you. I'm going to start with you, Puleng Kwele. Just in quick terms, kind of in your space, how important it is, the message that the Minister has said about young people. What have you been able to do, and what kind of focus have you been able to look at in terms of developing young people that we're seeing here?
I suppose I would say this being the newest 5-year-old company with 144 employees, an average age of 34, it means we have been able to create 144 jobs that didn't exist before. 70% of those jobs being in the technical area. So we are very proud of that and are continuing to develop technologists, technicians, and engineers. We have revamped our engineering internship program into a structured one in collaboration with Transnet to ensure that we have more professional engineers. So that's where our focus is at. We are obviously in a very competitive environment and are proud to have been able to retain some of the interns that we trained ourselves.
Okay, Brian Malife, she's mentioned Transnet, so you're working quite close together. Infrastructure spend, you and Eskom spending huge amounts of money. Is that translating into creating jobs, creating skills, not just for your own entity, but for the South African economy in general?
It is indeed, and we estimate that by the end of the 7-year period in which we implement the MDS, we'll have created an additional 230,000 jobs economy-wide. And in the first year, we have been able to create in excess of 30,000 jobs economy-wide. So this is indeed bearing fruit.
All right. Nomkhita Mona, South African Forestry Company, an area that a lot of people probably don't know much about. And I guess by its nature, rural-based. Are we seeing jobs being developed with programs such as this, particularly in your area?
Well, job creation is not going to happen if it's not planned. We needed to make sure that we have set aside within forestry. And we have decided as SAFCOL that we do not want to be an island of wealth in a sea of poverty. And wherever we operate, we make sure that we start with the communities around us. And last year alone, in the financial year, we created an additional 150 jobs. And this year, which is the first quarter of the year, we have an additional 80 people. These are people who were unemployed and were not having any opportunities. But I think over and above that, what is important is we have set aside 25% of our spend towards economic development spend, and that we are focusing largely on BEE, the youth, women, and some of the people with disabilities. And SAFCOL does offer bursaries, and we offer bursaries to courses not only in forestry, but also in other areas because the country does need critical skills.
All right. Brian Dames, when people talk about Eskom, they think electricians, they think engineers, but I would imagine that with this kind of internship program that you're developing skills in other areas as well.
No, absolutely. I mean, Eskom is one of the world's largest power companies. We're South Africa's largest company. We invest more money than most companies. We train more people. We run Africa's only nuclear station, and we have the highest and biggest forex hedge book. So everything from accountants to nuclear engineers to scientists to electricians. And that is what we do. And it's crucially important for the country. But today should be a positive discussion. You know, if you look at any country, you should look at its future and look at the youth. And look at how we treat and develop the youth. So when I look at everybody here, I'm quite excited about our country. I'm quite excited about the role that we play as state-owned companies to develop these young people.
All right. Riaz Saliji, also Denel, we hear about it, but not so much understand the intricacies. But I would imagine when we talk about skills and skills development, yours is very particular, and to be competitive, we're talking scarce type of skills. That must be a challenge for you.
You know, we have a specific problem. It's that historically the defense industrial sector has not been accessible to our people. So we've got to demystify it firstly. We need to create an enabling environment and then empower our youth to access that environment. And that's exactly what we're busy with at the moment. Specifically looking at maths and science, looking at bursary programs, outreach programs to schools, artisan training. And of course, at the high end of the technology spectrum, engineering is a key issue for us. So what we are busy with at the moment is to create this empowering environment to make it more accessible to our people.
All right, and next to you, and I just wonder, is South African Airways, Mr. Galawa, doing enough to create more and enough pilots for you?
Peter, we run 4 programs through which we support development of youth. The first one the Minister mentioned in his speech is the Cadet Pilot Program. It was started in 1994. To date, we've developed about 380 pilots. We're not happy with that, which is why we're looking at investing in this flight academy. And the benefit of the flight academy is that it's going to shorten the period, reduce the costs. But in driving these programs, we're very deliberate. We want to change the race and gender profile of the flight deck. Today, it's more than 70% white male. Females are probably less than 10%. Clearly, that's not right. We're changing it in a very responsible fashion. The second program is around forming partnership with technical colleges. The Minister referred to them as FETs, to offer training in the engineering and technicians space using our technical business. We've got a business that does maintenance of aircrafts, very specialized area. In that area, in a year and a half, we develop about 530 technicians. The third area looks at offering workplace experience to people who have chosen the corporate type disciplines, IT, finance, and so on. We give exposure to them, and the number is about 400 a year. And the last area, which is a very exciting area to me. It's where we drive awareness, aviation awareness to kids in schools, special focus in remote villages. It's close to my heart because I come from rural villages. Thanks, Peter.
All right. So you've talked about rural villages, and SA Express goes to some of the locations that the bigger planes don't go to. And I just wonder if someone in a very small part of South Africa has got big dreams of being an aeronautical engineer or a pilot, is SA Express finding a way to reach those young people and fulfilling those dreams in Nchanga?
Yes, Peter, we've been spending a lot of time in energy, recruiting from outside of Gauteng for a change. We spent a lot of time over the years. I mean, what Monwabisi is talking about regarding the almost 400 pilots that are sitting at SAA, the bulk of them were trained between SA Express and Airlink. So we work very closely with South African Airways to make sure that we make this dream of introducing more people from rural areas. I guess to demystify also flying, because flying is still seen as a noble, kind of activity. But we don't stop there. Technicians as well. We've got some of our technicians in the room that are coming from different parts of the country. Of course, the focus now is women. We're still struggling to employ women. If I look in our company, we only have 9 female pilots out of about 250, which is still, and I'm talking black women, we've got 22 white women. And so it's an area that we still need to develop. We're looking at our next intake of cadets. We're looking to be taking almost an all-female team of pilots. But we also have the other side. People always see airline industry as pilots and cabin crew, but there's other programs that are focused on graduates. I mean, as you probably read, we've had challenges in our finance department. So we've had to bring in graduates to actually help us to turn around the business. And it's working because they're very curious, they're very, they're still sucking a lot of information and they're making good changes in the company.
All right. Well, you've heard the opening remarks from our CEOs and from Minister as well. Let's go straight to our audience and also you at home. And let's see if the experience that they are getting is the one that you think that you've been creating for them. And let's see what kind of feedback we're going to get from our young people there. Let's start with Marche Lackey. I think, is that correct? Marche Lackey, row I, block R, is that correct? Marche, if you could stand up so we can identify you quickly. There we go. Get the microphone to Marche and stand up in your seat so we can see you. The camera can pick you up.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay, ask the question.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Minister, I just wanted to know, we have our expectations from you guys, but we wanted to know what is it that you guys expect from us and how we can change South Africa and Africa as a whole.
Okay, Minister.
Wow, I must confess I am truly inspired by the question, because it moves you away from being a recipient of a program into being an agent for change. Looking at your role not only in relation to your profession, but in relation to the country and the continent. Africa is South Africa's mother continent. We owe our allegiance to our continent. Now, we had taken a decision that the state-owned companies must expand their training programs to train for more than their own needs as corporates, but to train for the needs of the economy as a whole, so that the young people we provide training to must not only work, it must not only be the ones who either work or desire to work in these state-owned companies. And I must say, these companies are employers of choice in very many ways. But we want you to go into the economy to contribute in establishing SMMEs, in sharing your skills with other young people, in informing other young people about how to access these opportunities. And that's why this program, through the Deputy Minister, and I would like you, Peter, at another stage to talk to him to tell you about how we are designing a program within the department to link up with all the state-owned companies, so that through a website link, a young person can access information about opportunities in all of the state-owned companies in our portfolio. But we want these young people to make a positive contribution to our economy, to contribute towards training others. And if that is the mindset, as you have just asked, I think our country is on the right path.
Okay, right, let's go straight to Yapi Monele, block D, D13. D13, if you could stand up where you are, grab the microphone.
Hi, this is Yapi Monele from Denel Dynamics. I must say that I was quite happy with the stats which were revealed by the Honorable Minister. But then it's one thing actually creating these job opportunities and giving out internships. My question is, how do we actually retain this talent and skills that we actually developed? Because we tend to lose a lot of skills and talents to the private sectors as a state-owned companies. How do we retain this talent?
Okay. Because he's with Denel, can I ask you that? Because that's one thing that, Riaz, you're going to face a lot, because yours is very specific, and the private sector will snap up your guys like this. How do you keep your guys? Do you pay them better or what?
I wish I had extra. I need to ask the minister for more money, but no, really, we do have a real problem with losing skills to the private sector. So we need to be more competitive. But I think what is also important, we need to have very strong mentorship programs, succession planning, to make sure that we create the space where the younger people have a career path within the organization that realizes sooner rather than later. So the problem that we have in the organization is that we've got a lot of old people within the organization and a lot of very young people. So we are busy with programs and interventions right now in order to fast-track the process and to create the kind of incentives and working environment, as I've indicated earlier on, an enabling environment where they have access to the kind of creative knowledge and skills which will allow them to see a future for themselves in that business. So there are these interventions, but it is a problem which we are addressing at the moment.
Okay, Nomkhita, I would imagine also that in an area like yours, you have the challenge of getting people to come in to your environment because it's not one that maybe is not as sexy or that they know so much about.
Well, we're working very hard on making it a sexy industry. So, it is an issue, but what we like about it is that the people who are there are people who want to be there. They've chosen it. And it's people who want to work in forestry, in environment, etc. But it is an issue in terms of skills retention. But if you look at it on the other side, if people leave and go within the country, it's not necessarily a loss. But it then creates an issue where you become the training center, a perpetual center for training for other people. So yes, there are specific things that we need to do as state-owned enterprise to retain the skills, but also it's about the mindset shift that we also are looking for new people. If you look at forestry, for instance, it's also an old, white environment. And therefore, the people that we still have within our ranks are those who want to share the knowledge and get the new people coming in. So it's an exciting space to be, but it is still an issue in terms of skills loss, if you like.
Seem to be sexy as well, eh? Whoa. Philip Limakwane, Block C. Philip Limakwane. There we go.
I think my question was actually answered, but on top of that, I just wanted to find out, there is a deviation between young people being trained in one area and deployed on another area. So I just wanted to find out from the minister, how do you bridge that gap?
Okay, so matching training and actual deployment. So you get trained in one thing and you end up working in another area. How do we match our skills?
In actual fact, there are very few people who do the work they were trained for. So I wouldn't be worried about that. I'm a geography teacher. The legal economics that I know, I'm studying it as I work. A lot of people are engineers working in finance. So it's actually good. I think we need to open up our minds and accept that the skill we are providing you with is more than a skill. It's a life skill. It must allow you to thrive, to survive, to adapt wherever you get sent by the company. And you will find this in many companies where from time to time employees get rotated, The same thing has just been done at ESCOM recently, where the top execs have been rotated. The commercial executive is now heading capital projects. It's actually a good thing. I would say to you, keep that positive mindset, open up your mind. You've got very far to go.
All right, and I can vouch for that as well. From the lofty heights of being an accountant, I'm now just a poorly paid TV presenter. All right, Lindsay Kirby, Block B. Lindsay Kirby, Block B.
Good morning. I'm Lindsay. I am with Transnet Freight Rail. Honourable Minister, this is a question for you. I just wanted to know, how much does your department interact with the Department of Education, particularly the quality of the education in Maths and Science department, and also motivating school learners in general around South Africa, as well as in the rural areas? How do you access them and motivate them? I suppose that also goes to CEOs of all the SOEs as well.
Okay.
You know, Lindsay, by coincidence, my department is also your department. So we share the department. You own it, actually. I only work here. I could be removed any day. We work with different departments. I think at the present moment, we work with the Departments of Higher Education and Training to support their FET colleges, the universities, the engineering faculties. Only last week, Friday, I was with ESCOM at the Mangosuthu University of Technology, where we were launching their Wi-Fi infrastructure. Many of our state-owned companies are partnering with FET colleges, SAA, Transnet, and others to provide assistance of one sort or the other. But some of them, such as SAFCOL, actually work with schools to help them develop their maths and science infrastructure to improve maths and science learning in the schools. And I've gone with some of the state-owned companies supporting their corporate social investments in providing learner material at various schools for maths and science. I think the question you are asking me, you are actually not asking me a question, you are posing a challenge not only to yourself, but to all of you from our state-owned companies. We've got over 12,000 young people in the academies of our state-owned companies. If all of them were mobilized every weekend to go to schools and teach maths and science, imagine the impact. Now, I think that the CEOs sitting here and the Deputy Minister, as the person driving the program, must pick up the challenge that Lindsay is posing for all of us and actually do it. I think we can make a drastic impact in the lives of the learners in our schools.
Brian Malief, I'm going to ask you, because you're a big employer, and you need lots of skills. Are we pushing through enough skills, science, maths, in our system at the moment?
Well, not in the system at the moment. I mean, at Transnet, we have a program with the foundation where we train teachers, additional training for teachers that we are funding, additional skills for maths and science. But the bigger conversation that we have is not really about maths and science, but it is about the relevance of what is being taught at our schools. Because I think that more and more we have to introduce maritime training and maritime subjects in high school. We need to teach rail, about rail dynamics and what is involved in managing a rail network as early as high school. so that we get people interested. In aviation, for example, there is quite a lot that people can learn, which is applied mathematics, where people can learn quite a lot about aviation before they even leave school, so that becoming a pilot is not just a pipe dream, it's something that people interest gets aroused in the way that it is weaved into the curriculum. And I think that that is a challenge for our education system, to weave all sorts of possibilities into our curriculum. And I think that that is a conversation that as a country we need to have as a matter of urgency.
All right, so maybe this is a great time to speak to Deputy Minister to engage with us on that. Deputy Minister, if we can get a microphone to the front row here, because the questions keep being asked. Are these the kind of conversations that we're having with Minister Blade and Nzimande, for example, are we starting to deliver? We talk a lot, we say the right kind of things. Deputy Minister?
No, thank you very much. We are one of the few departments that we are able to delegate upwards, where juniors can delegate their seniors. So I've decided to take my delegation now. One of the areas is the distribution of math dictionaries to schools. We also have a program through all the SOCs that we are taking to rural areas and even to townships, where we are taking SOCs to speak to young people about all these opportunities that are there in our SOCs. We are working with the Department of Higher Education through the Deputy Minister of Higher Education to promote engineering, technicians, also an important career which most of our young people do not take it seriously is the issue of the marine. There are many opportunities. Currently in the marine industry, there are more than 40,000 job opportunities. Wow. And we are encouraging young people to take those opportunities. Okay. We were in the Northern Cape last week. We are also going to the Eastern Cape in the area of Holy Cross in the rural area, exposing our SOCs and inviting our young people to participate in our program. I would also like to respond to the issue raised by Marcia. What we expect as government from them is that as we roll out this program, something inside so strong in their hearts must resonate in them in wanting to succeed. Thank you.
All right, just before you sit down, Minister, Deputy Minister, there are young people watching the program right now, and I think Minister talked about if they want to respond and get this thing that's in their heart so strong to take action, where do they go? How do they engage? How do they seize these opportunities? 40,000 jobs, you say, in maritime. Where do they start? Where do they look? Is there a website? What do they do?
We do have a website, but we don't end there. That is why we also we are visiting provinces, organizing these workshops so that those who do not have access to websites can also see us in their own areas. So we do have a website, we do distribute a magazine that has got all our opportunities, but if they visit our website, it can take through all this, it can take them through all those SOCs.
All right, so the Department of Public Enterprises, there's a link through if they can get to a website somewhere. And otherwise, they can visit a local office. Otherwise, you're going to visit them.
Yes.
Okay.
And in the month of August, we'll be specifically focusing on young women in engineering. Our engineers in Transnet, Eskom, Denel will be visiting schools, especially the township schools and the rural schools, promoting engineering in that particular field, especially for young women.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed, sir. Right, let's go to, I think it's Block C, TK Badi. TK Badi, Block C. Do you want to stand up and get your microphone? Thank you.
Morning, everyone.
Hola.
My name is Thandi Keith Badi, and I'm from Denel Land Systems. I might sound a bit robust today, but I need to ask this and say this. I feel it's a lie when people say that there's a lack of skills in South Africa. Skills are there. and people with skills or specific skills are there in our companies. However, we have this reluctancy from the people with skills and transferring it to the younger people because they think the baby boomers, they think that we might be taking their jobs and everything, whereas we want to help there and make everything in an optimal manner. Thank you. So my question is, Mr. Riaz, how are you guys going to make sure that we fast track the transferring of skills to the youth? Thank you.
Okay. So that question is for Riaz, but I also want Brian to attach that, and also Peleng, because you've been a bit quiet. Let's start with you, Riaz.
You know, I think one of the key points that the minister has been making over and over again is that we've got to have a transformation agenda. Obviously, in certain instances, and that's a reality, there is resistance to change. And we've got to make sure that we make those interventions that will not allow that to happen. We need to fast-track young people, and we are in the process of doing that. As I've indicated earlier on, we have very strong mentorship programs, succession planning, and I appreciate and I understand what he's saying exactly, because that is what we do experience in our environment. But it is a question of commitment, it's a question of passion, and those individuals who are committed to a new, transformed environment, and I've said this before, will have a place in the organization. And those who are committed to ensuring that the young people will find a meaningful career in the organization, they will have a place in the organization. And those who are resisting change will inevitably leave the organization. So it is not an easy issue. We are dealing with it. But as I've indicated earlier, and the minister has been very clear on this, the transformation agenda will hopefully address some of these issues.
Brian, what do you do with old white men who are scared that if they teach, they're going to become unemployed?
You know, in our organization, we certainly have everybody, and everybody is important. Don't make a mistake, everybody is important. And it's very important that the transfer skill happen, and in Eskom, it must happen. You've got no choice in that regard. In our company, 42% of our employees are youth, and then a big part of our employees are over 45. So it is about the future of Eskom that skills transfer happen. So we have a very structured program. We've spoken about the Academy of Learning. Eskom alone has got 12,000 trainees that we implement. We have a school for project management, welding, many other areas, and very specific disciplines, engineering disciplines, all the engineering disciplines. And we actually take some of our older folk and put them in front of young people and let them teach. And on top of that, make sure that everybody get exciting exposure. You know, we deal with big things, whether it's big money or finance. or plants, that's what we get to do. You know, that need is absolute. The concern is real, and it's something that we as management must drive and must make sure, because it's really about the future of the organizations. The future lies in their hands, and we have to make sure they're ready to take on that responsibility.
All right. Ling?
Okay. I think it's a two-way process. We need the interns, the learners, to commit to being agents of change. Finish the programs, commit to get the experience. Because the problem is, in the middle of programs as well, there's a job opportunity, they hop. It is the experience that counts over time. I must say, we don't have that challenge in our organization. Our average age is 34.
Wow.
If you take the executives out, the average age
even drops.
So I think that we are a youthful organization, but the comment made is real. It cuts across all industries. But then that's why I think for state-owned enterprises, we've got to be reflective of the change and transformation that is required by the country.
I don't want to beat the point, but SAA, when I worked at SAA, the pilots were out of control. They were kings among kings. They were royalty. They couldn't be talked to. So I wonder if this is an area where this kind of protectiveness in terms of transferring skills is something that you guys are experiencing, and how are you managing that, both of you?
In general, Peter, in business, managers tend to focus on areas that are measured. If as a leader you believe that youth development is priority, that needs to be reflected in the performance contracts that you sign with managers. They get rewarded if they deliver on it. They face consequences if they do not deliver. It doesn't end there. I think the point was made, there are two parties to this. There's the manager and the person who's being developed. A manager who's resisting change must face the consequences. A learner who believes in entitlement, coasting along, and not pulling the weight must also face the consequences. If you get that relationship right, it'll deliver the desired results for the organization. As a principal, that would be my response to the question.
All right, so I wish you luck with the pilots. I hope things have changed there. All right, let's go back to our table, our floor. Table, block B, is that Nengwanani? Table, block B, BA, Nengwanani.
Good morning. My name is Ribwan Nengwanani. I'm from SAA Technical. My question is, what is the aim of this youth program? Is it to train youth to get skills and go sit home with your qualification? Minister, I'm asking this question because I know people who are qualified and they're sitting at home. For example, as an aircraft technician, it's not that easy to get a job anyway.
Thank you very much. The question, of course, I'll try and answer it in two ways. I think there is a broader level at which we are saying, the issue of skills and economic growth is mutually reinforcing. We need skills to grow the economy and create jobs, but we also need the jobs and the economy to grow so that we can continue developing more skills. And we are facing a challenge in that regard, and which is why I said earlier, the problem facing youth with regard to unemployment cannot be solved mechanically by saying, grow the economy and grow aggregate employment in the economy. You need youth-targeted programs that create jobs for young people so that you get them to exercise their skills and to develop new skills along the way. But the second element to your question speaks to what we are trying to do in driving this collaboration between SAA, SA Express, and Denel to develop an aviation and aerostructures industry, which is going to create more opportunities for young people such as yourselves, trained as technicians for aircraft to participate and use your skills there. You will know that we recently signed a memorandum of understanding with Russia to develop a maintenance, repairs, and overhaul facility in South Africa, where we will provide that service not only to South African and Russian aircraft, but also where we look at expanding the opportunity throughout the African continent. That capability is going to grow the capabilities we currently have within SAA and SA Express, as well as Denel, and provide greater opportunities for more training, for more jobs for young people. So we need your skills, and we are doing all we can to provide you with the job opportunities you will need. But we also want you to expand your skills and capabilities beyond what you are being trained for, so that you can become an entrepreneur. That's why earlier I spoke about entrepreneurship opportunities we are providing. Some of the young people who work at Transnet, we will expect them to participate, for example, in the logistics, in the materials logistics hub I spoke about in DR. And we expect you to do that because not all of us, some people are very good in entrepreneurship. Others, like me, are bad at it. We are fine in what we are doing. Not good, but fine. So we are creating the opportunities, and I think that when you complete your training, I think you will find a job, whether within SAX or within SAA or in this expanded aviation and aerostructures capability we are developing. And I think the question you are asking poses a challenge to these CEOs to work harder to develop the collaborations that we keep on talking about so that we develop the opportunities for our young people.
Okay. Mandisa Sibanyoni, Block D. Mandisa Sibanyoni, Block D. Okay. Where are you? Stand up, get your microphone.
Good morning. I'm Mandisa Sibanyoni from Transnet Engineering. This question is directed to Mr. Brian Molefe. How strong is the communication with TITA, or should I say, how long does it take for a person to receive the red seal after being trade tested or being qualified as an artisan in any trade? Thank you.
All right. So, a red seal, is this after you finish your training?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah, the red seals are like the special forces of the artisans.
Ah.
They get trained in everything, and they are able to be deployed anywhere, anytime. Right. But the question is, how soon does it take to get your certificate? It should not take a long time to get a certificate, but I mean, the certificate is just a piece of paper. The important thing is, has the person been trained, and can they do what they can do? The administrative part of it should be the easy part to resolve if there is a problem in just getting the certificate. But the difficult thing is the training itself and making sure that the skills are imparted. And not just skills are imparted, but that the person can also be used after the training. But I agree, I mean, the administrative part of it must also be done as soon as possible. I don't know if there are problems with TITA or with the certification, then we can look into that. Please drop me an email or translate.
All right.
I was not aware of that.
Minister?
Peter, the Transnet Engineering is one facility that South Africans ought to take enormous pride in. At the present moment, it's an assembler of rolling stock of locomotives and wagons. It recently designed and assembled fuel tanks, an automotive wagon, designed by them, manufactured there, it was assembled there. Very interesting wagon that's going to contribute towards shifting the transportation of cars, of vehicles from road to rail. But I have posed them a challenge that being an assembler of rolling stock is not enough. I want them to become an original equipment manufacturer, because that will drastically create job opportunities and skills development opportunities. It will place South Africa right there on the map with other global OEMs, and that is the challenge which the company is responding to, because our drive towards industrialization depends on us taking on bold projects and contributing towards global value chains where in the past we were just little boys. We want to play big, and that's the challenge which I think the CE of Transnet Engineering promised me that they were going to respond to. When you go to Transnet Engineering, whether in Kudu Sport or in Germiston or even in Port Elizabeth, you will find many young people who are being trained there. Many young engineers, female. That is a flagship program that South Africans must take deep pride in. But the challenge for Transnet Engineering is even more, because the opportunities being created there will benefit even more youth than the ones that are participating on the program.
All right, okay, let's go to Leanne in studio, because she's been collecting some tweets that have been coming through. Leanne, what are people saying out there in South Africa?
All right, thank you very much, Peter. Yes, there has been quite a nice reaction to this morning's broadcast, and lots of people are watching and sending in their questions. Let me go through a couple of the comments and some questions as well. If you have a pen there, Peter, you can perhaps write them down. Cornele is writing and saying, when will SA Express, the program, run again? So the Mach 2 program, when will it run again? That's a question for the SA Express CEO. Here's another one. Saliso saying, why not hire all those interns in permanently? So that's another one. Why not hire the interns permanently? I'm not sure where he's referring to, but I'm sure you will understand that question, whoever spoke about the hiring of the interns there. Goodman Palisa is disagreeing with the minister, saying, I disagree with the minister. Where they're saying people are working without any skills. Meanwhile, our youth are sitting at home with the skills. So that's something that somebody's disagreeing with, is that the youth are struggling to find jobs out there, and that they would like to sort of find jobs in relation to this. Another person asking a question to the minister. I think it's a bit of a controversial one. I'm trying to find it. It was a loan that was given quite recently. It was for a venture from Kanye Dlomo, who opened a shop, and it was a shop called Luminance, and she got a 34 million rand loan, and that was from the National Empowerment Fund. A lot of people are asking about this and asking whether or not this is what the minister's take on this is and what he feels about this. So, Minister, if you'd like to add your voice to this loan to a shop that has been opened, where a lot of people feel that money could be used elsewhere to empower people that have absolutely no resources. So there are lots of things, and people also saying we are grateful for companies that are collaborating to empower the youth with skills. Now implement. That's from Ntobisi, who's writing to us as well. And then just finally, Lesego saying the reason why there are so few black pilots is because the programs are run by white people who sabotage the program. That's what Lesego is saying. Perhaps we can get some comment from the panel there, whether or not that's true or not. And yeah, that's what I can see for now. Quite a lot of comments coming through, and very differing comments as well. So, Peter, if you'd like to handle it from here on out, it's over to you.
Okay, Leanne, thank you very much indeed. Well, let's knock those off as quickly as we can. This SA Express program, tell us what it is and if it's going to run again. Inati?
The minister launched the program on the 25th of July.
What is it?
It's the cadet pilot program. Right. It runs in 2 phases. There's Mach 1, which is young people who are coming straight from school, usually no aviation training at all. That's the one. We've got 13 students now training in Midrand at Superior Training School, Training Academy. Then we have Mach 2, which is pilots, young pilots with a commercial pilot's license, meaning they've got just over 250 hours that we take and we train through until they're ready to join as full-time pilots, or they join South African Airways. Now, maybe just to answer the second question, what we've done internally, yes, I mean, these programs, there's been people who ring-fence these, or the gatekeepers that hold people back from this program. So the important thing is really to take it into the CEO's office directly. So where the person, they may not report directly to you, but they will have access to you and you run this program, from your office. And that's what we've done at SA Express. We've also appointed people of color to run the program. We've got one of our newly joined head of training, Sakile, who's sitting in the audience, who's got a lot of experience as a pilot, having been successful at different areas in terms of being a pilot. But just a little one, I mean, it's not an easy program. It's very tough. And what we need, and this was told to me by the late Laurie Kay, who used to head up the program, is that all we need are three things, basically. We need highly disciplined people, highly motivated people, and then people who are willing to learn and grasp all the information. If you can bring us those three things, and of course math and science is very, very important, you may be successful in the program.
All right. Okay, so Minister, you talked about enterprise development, 34 million rand for Luminance Kanyidlomo. Any thoughts? I don't know if this is something that you have any thoughts on.
I would have to, because the National Empowerment Fund doesn't fall in my portfolio. It would be unfair of me to comment on something that I really don't have much information about. In Zulu, they would say ngiyahlomeka. And I wouldn't want to do that. I think it would be better for me if I were to comment, having received better insight to understand even the rationale on the part of the National Empowerment Fund. And I'm sure that both the National Empowerment Fund as well as the ministry responsible are pretty much capable of providing answers. But to comment on some of the issues, let me start with the issue that Inati has just spoken about. There is a lot of white South Africans who are very committed to skills transfer. We must not paint a few, we must not take a few people and generalize them and paint everybody with the same brush. There's a lot of South Africans, of white South Africans, in the aviation sector, in the engineering sectors. Brian spoke about the experience at Eskom, who are committed to skills transfer and are doing a lot to transfer their skills to young people, black and white, male and female. We need to applaud them, to encourage them for doing exactly that. There is a question, why don't we just employ the interns? Let me repeat what we are saying. We have asked the state-owned companies, because if we were to say to them, if we were to say to these CEOs sitting here, train only the people you will employ, we will see the numbers in their learning academies dropping. But we have challenged them to open up their books so that they train young people beyond the numbers that they need for their own companies. And that is why you have seen the numbers of learners in our learning academies increasing as well as they have in the last 3 years. But there are instances where, for example, we went to launch the Eskom Welding Academy, and I said this thing that I've just said now, and the chairman of Eskom said to me, well, Minister, in case of these young welders, we will employ all of them. Now, there are instances such as those, but we are providing these young people with skills which our economy doesn't have in abundance at the present moment, and we want them to, some of them, to go out and create opportunities.
Okay, we're running out of time, unfortunately.
Finally, the gentleman who says he disagrees with me, I don't know what exactly he's disagreeing with, because what he says I said, I did not say.
Okay. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, and I'm going to have to leave it there. But I just want to say to our guests, Malusi Gigamba, thank you very much indeed. Foleng Kwele, Brian Molefe, Nomkita Mona, Brian Damas, Ria Solji, Mwanamisi Kalawe and Inajin Changa, thank you very much indeed for joining us and being part of the program. To you in the audience, thank you very much indeed. Good luck with the rest of your internships and good luck with the rest of your careers. Make us proud. And to you at home, thank you very much indeed for being part of our morning broadcast and for your contributions. And join us again at the next one. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow morning.